Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's January 9th, 2026. We're very glad you're with us this morning. Please note this event is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2007, I started facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. This group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org, a website to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I usually have copies with me. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIT Crew, and you'll hear more about them in just a few minutes. Our agenda this morning will start out with success stories, then 30-second introductions, then we'll go to the committee reports, interview success workshop, PIT Crew, career tip of the week, and then our main event of around the top of the hour. Well, we like to start the meeting off with good news. Do we have any landings to share? Anybody online landings? I know I've put out, yesterday I put out an email to everybody we haven't seen in the last 90 days, and I've gotten like 8 or 10 responses, but I haven't looked at them yet. I'll look at them all tomorrow because there's usually 1 or 2 or 3 landings that pop up in there. All right, well, let's go on to for everybody who's online right now, if you will open up your chat box and put in your name, the position you're looking for, give us your email address, your LinkedIn address, your phone number if you want to provide that, the city you're watching from. Give us 2 or 3 target companies that we may be able to help you with. And then if you have connections at companies that you can help, please go ahead and list those. So open up the chat window, do that, and I'll put 30 seconds on the clock to get started. Okay, if you're typing, please continue typing. Give us your information. Let's see, if I don't know you're online, I won't be able to add you to our roster to make sure you get the information that goes out. Oops. All right, so what we want to do now is let everybody who's here in the room come up and give their 30-second introductions. So if you want to come up, grab the microphone, and we'll get started. Come on down. There we go. Oop, yeah. Push up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Florence Hogan, and I am a strategic insights, research, and competitive intelligence leader. My target companies this week are USAA, National Life Group, and State Farm. And again, my name is Florence Hogan.
Thank you.
My name is Daniel Reisinger. I'm looking for jobs in welding or welding education. I'm currently looking for contacts at Crescent Systems. Again, my name is Daniel Reisinger.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wendy Baker. I'm transitioning from school administrator into nonprofit industry or business. specifically the areas of talent development, more specifically employee engagement, learning development, or event management, event planning. I am looking at an exciting position right now at Plano ISD. So if anybody has any connections there, I would love to hear from you. Thank you. Wendy Baker.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Chris Holmes, and I am looking for senior leadership positions in IT portfolio management or agile delivery. I need contacts this week at DPR Construction or Autodesk. I have contacts at Southwest Airlines, and my name is Chris Holmes.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is John Hamer. I'm a senior technical project manager. I lead project teams in the deployment of systems and solutions that maximize companies' investment. My target companies this week, again, is RTX, Collins Aerospace, actually American Airlines, and my name is John Hamer.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Pete Hunt. I'm a 43-year Air Force veteran, just moved up here to Plano. A lot of background in operations and planning. Looking for a position as the Director of Military Affairs, and target companies would be USAA and Toyota. My name is Pete Hunt.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Belzil. So I'm looking for a director above role in product management focused on data and analytic solutions. So I need contacts at Keurig Dr. Pepper, Hershey, or 7-Eleven. So I have contacts at Walmart, Epsilon, and Circana. My name is Mike Belzil.
Thank you. You can just give that to Walt and he'll grab it a little bit. Okay, what we want to do now is grab everybody who's online. If you will, open up your little status bar at the bottom, raise your hand so I know to call on you. Otherwise, I'll possibly call on you 2 or 3 times, trying to keep track of who's out there. So Miguel, I'll let you start first.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everyone. So I'm Miguel Castillo. I'm looking for a director or VP of finance. Need contacts at Caterpillar and have contacts at American Airlines. So I just heard someone needed a contact there. Connect with me. My name is Miguel Castillo.
Thank you. Steve Rohan.
Good morning. My name is Steve Rowan. I'm a retired .NET developer. I have contacts at the VA and Fiserv. My name is Steve Rowan.
Thank you. Tracy Harris.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Harris. I'm a senior search consultant with Thomas Edwards Group. We are a recruiting firm local to the DFW area, focused in accounting, finance, HR, and IT. My name is Tracy Harris.
Thank you. Matthew.
Good morning. I'm Matthew Bianchin. I'm a business development director. That is the role that I'm currently seeking. I have contacts at Aramark and PepsiCo. I am looking for contacts and any support with Sodexo. I'm Matthew Bianchin.
Thank you. Verlissa.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Valisa Madden. I'm looking for roles at the senior manager or above level. I'm looking for roles in internal audit, SOX, process improvement, and I'm interested in pretty much any industry, but I have a lot of background in not-for-profits, healthcare, public accounting, and I'm trying to find contacts at the Firefighters First Credit Union, or, well, I listed a whole bunch of them out there, especially like USAE. I have contacts at AT&T and also at Fidelity. Please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect. I'd be happy to help. Again, I'm Valisa Madden.
Thank you. Julio.
Yes, good morning. My name is Julio Novello. I'm a senior account manager looking for account management, sales management. Target company is this week's American Airlines, and I have contacts at Dish Network and Hughes Network. Again, my name is Julio
Thank you. Amanda.
Good Good morning. I'm Amanda Boyle, an accomplished compliance manager. I'm looking for the job titles of compliance manager, compliance analyst, regulatory expert. I'm needing contacts at CoreWeave and NVIDIA, and I have contacts at L3, at CPI, anything in the antenna technology sector. And my name is Amanda Boyle.
Thank you. Alkeisha.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Alkeisha Rodriguez. I am looking for a role as a technical program manager. I need contacts at Microsoft and Google, and I have contacts at Verizon as well as Communities Foundation of Texas. Alkeisha Rodriguez.
Thank you. Rosina.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosina Gallman, and I'm your Career Tip of the Week host, so I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm looking for a position as a senior talent acquisition business partner or senior recruiter. And actually, this week I am going to be following up on a lot of leads that I have been given, so I don't need any contacts for this week. And then I have a variety of different contacts at companies. So as we connect, you can feel free to take a look at the companies and see if there's anybody I can introduce you to. And again, my name is Rosina Gallman, Senior Talent Acquisition Business Partner or Senior Recruiter position. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Dax.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dax Bennington. Software sales and technical sales are the roles that I'm looking for. Account executive or sales development representative. Target companies this week are Intuit, Cisco, NTT Data, and I've got connections at a place called Wasp Barcode. They've recently posted a few roles, product manager and senior software developer. Yes, I'm Dax Bennington. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anybody else online I've not called on yet? I see some names up here who are online, but they're not being verbal. All right, we'll move on then. Okay, job leads. Tracy, what's going on with your firm?
You know, I have to say 2026 is off to a good start. We've actually received a fair amount of new roles last week and this week. I think people are getting back into things. So we've actually received, which I think 2025 is the most part. We didn't see a ton of HR roles. Unfortunately, saw a fair amount of layoffs on that side, but just got an AR manager role this morning. We have a generalist, which is requiring someone bilingual in Spanish. We have some compensation and benefits roles. We have some senior financial analyst positions. We've got a couple in procurement also, which is a little bit different for our wheelhouse. But yeah, and those are all permanent roles. So definitely seeing everyone kind of get back to things, which is a good sign.
Great, Tracy, thank you very much. And her contact information is a chat window. So if you want to reach out to her, you'll get a copy of that tomorrow when I send out the email. Tracy, thank you very much for being with us. All right, time to hear about the Interview Success Workshop. Walt Glass.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Walt Glass. I'm a retired person that really helps people with job interviews. And so, by the way, Pete, thank you for your service. Can you believe I was in the military? It's been 55 years. Well, the Vietnam, I'm not, anybody recognize the words Vietnam? You've been around long enough for that. But anyway, I've been in IT for over 30 years, actually about 40, but it shows my age. Don't want to show my age because I'm not as old as I look. So the idea is this. Everything that we do in job search focuses down towards the interview. And it's the interview where the rubber meets the road. That's where, when we are really at the point of saying this is decision point. And if we can interview well, and we can do well in that and successfully sell ourselves, we've got a much greater chance of shortening our job search and getting the job that's right for us. And so I focus on the fundamentals of interviewing and of selling, since it's a selling situation. And there's three elements. It's who we are, what we do, and how we help. So who we are and our soft skills is part of the culture fit. And then what we do and how we do it. So what we do is our skills and knowledge, and how we do it is still part of the culture, part of the organization. And then we want to combine those to say that this is how we help. So if we're talking to someone in an interview, we want to make sure that we include the things that we provide value to them, because they're hiring us for the value we bring and for the achievements we can make for them. And so we can demonstrate those achievements and our communication skills, everything, all part of the interview itself. And that's where I want to focus. So I'll focus on the fundamentals. I call it the learning interview. It's called the Interview Success Workshop. Look me up on LinkedIn. My About section talks about the workshop. It is free. I do it online on Tuesdays from 9 to 11 Central. You have to be registered to attend, and I do have a wait list. And so I'll be glad to have you send me an email to the Yahoo email address. I'd like to get on the wait list, and I'll get you down. Please include your phone number in your request, because that's how I reach people quickly. Be glad to have you participate. So when you really want to get down into the interview, we really want to get down and say, how can I differentiate myself? How can I be different to the other? Because we all say, well, we're unique. We have that uniqueness. So what is that? Well, if you can sell who you are, what you do, and how you help, you will differentiate yourself, because most interview candidates are responding, not selling. So the whole objective is to move into that selling mindset and to remember what we're selling. So when we have a question, we say, why are they asking this question? Why now? Why from this person? What are they looking for? What's the reason? What's the motive? How can I answer that? How can I demonstrate that in my response? And so that's what it is. So it's very, very informal. It is a learning interview. You will get a video of your interview. We cover the 12 basic categories of questions. Then we look at strategies, approaches. Maybe there's a way to answer that. A particular formula might say, okay, turn a negative question into a positive response, for example, something like that. So I'd be glad to have you participate. Just send me that email. Be glad to have you get on board. Well, oh, pray tell me it's not true. Another poem about the learning interview. Well, come register with me. Don't worry, it's free. Successful interviews chase away the blues. I am Walt Class.
Thank you very much, Walt. First poem for 2026. All right. The Practice of New team meets every Wednesday from 1 to 3 o'clock right here at Christ United Methodist Church at the corner of Coit and Parker. If you live in Dallas, please come watch it. Please come participate. They meet in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesday of the month. On the fourth Wednesday of the month, they're online, so anybody who's outside the DFW area can watch a practice interview. You will learn as much watching somebody else being interviewed as you will being interviewed yourself. If you want to participate, just send an email to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and they'll get back in touch with you and put you on the wait list. They only schedule 3 weeks out because do it. If you've been a hiring manager in the past and you've hired and you've had to lay off people, the PIC crew is also always looking for more people to help interview. So once again, just send an email to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. Their motto is practice early, practice often. Don't wait until you have a real interview. Come practice here, because the difference is they'll give you about 20 minutes of feedback about how you did for the interview. And that always makes a big, big difference. All right, time to hear from the career tip of the week. Good morning, Rosina.
Good morning, Jeff, and good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026, where there are 365 new days, 365 new chances, and 365 new opportunities to do something different. All right, so this week's tip of the week is titled 10 Fastest Growing Jobs in the U.S. And this is coming from LinkedIn as far as an article. So ask any job seeker today, and they'll tell you that it's a challenging time to be looking for work. If you're wondering where the jobs are, LinkedIn offers a look in a new ranking. The professional networking site on Wednesday released its annual Jobs on the Rise list, identifying the 25 fastest growing occupations in the United States based on data from the past 2.5 years. The ranking takes into account millions of jobs that LinkedIn's members started from January 1st, 2023 to July 31st, 2025 to calculate a growth rate for each job title. To be ranked, a job title needed to show consistent positive growth across LinkedIn's membership base and to have grown by 2025 to a meaningful size which LinkedIn says varies by market and year based on total available jobs. So jobs in AI make up 3 of the top 5 positions on the list, indicating continued momentum in both technological and strategic AI roles. And that's all according to the report. Self-employed careers also took up several spots, like strategic advisors and independent consultants. Those were at number 7. And then founders were at number 9. So in addition to the number of members, adding founder to their profile has climbed 60% this year, or year over year. And a December LinkedIn report noted that clearly, and also noted that it nearly tripled since 2022. So rising costs and economic uncertainty may be pushing many to rethink the traditional career ladder, which may no longer feel like a secure or linear way as it once did. And that's according to LinkedIn's career expert, Catherine Fisher, who tells CNBC Make It. She notes that founder on the LinkedIn list refers not only to startup founders, but also to people building side hustles, consulting brands, micro businesses, and creator-led services. So full-time roles are still important, but contract work, advisory roles, and portfolio careers are fast becoming a strategic way to build experience, stay competitive, and create opportunity for yourself. So for job seekers trying to break into these roles or industries that make the list, take stock of the skills that you already have. And the most successful pivots aren't about starting from scratch. They're about translating existing skills into new contexts. That's what Fisher says. And spending time to think about the skills that you have and how they might transfer to one of these growing roles can help unlock opportunities for job seekers. So here are the top 10 jobs on the rise from LinkedIn's list, as well as their most common skills, hiring hotspots, and roles, people that switch from those roles. And so you're going to be able to find all 25 jobs on that LinkedIn list when Jeff sends the list out. I think he said tomorrow. But as far as the top 10, they are, and just keep in mind, I'm going to just read the top 10, but just know there are the most common skills under each of these jobs, where the jobs are most, like in what cities, and then the top roles that people transitioned from for these jobs. So first is AI engineers. Second, AI consultants and strategists. Third, new home sales specialists. Fourth, data annotators. Fifth, AI and ML researchers. Sixth, healthcare reimbursement specialists. Seventh, strategic advisors and independent consultants. Eight, advertising sales specialists. 9, founders, and 10, sales executives. So again, this article is from LinkedIn, and like I said, you'll get the list tomorrow when Jeff sends it out. But I hope that this tip provides you with vital information for your new your new year in job search. Again, this article is by LinkedIn and it's 10 fastest growing jobs in the US.
Thank you very, very much. All right. Like to just mention this once a month. Career DFW and the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group are two different organizations. Career DFW is something I started back in 2008 to help the unemployed. The North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group is a bunch of great people who get together here every Friday since the late 1990s. The only common thread between the two is that I happen to lead both at this point. If you want to overthrow me here, you're welcome to do so at any time, but you're not going to kick Career DFW out of my hands. Also, Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Everything I've done for it has been strictly as a volunteer since I started 17 years ago. All right, today for lunch, we're going to go to Country Burger, 3115 West Parker Road, the northwest corner of Parker and Independence. If you want this particular hamburger, you need to bring your own ham. They don't have ham slices, but they can prepare the rest of this for around, it used to be around $35. So if you're really hungry, come join us today at Country Burger. They have chicken, burgers, salad, and just come join us. All right, if you want to receive today's material, you'll get a link to the YouTube Career to USA recording after this event is recorded. You'll get a copy of the career tip of the week that Rosina just mentioned. You'll get a copy of the Zoom chat. To make sure you get that information, if you're here in person, make sure you've checked your name off on the roster so I know you're here. If you're new, make sure you fill out one of those little white slips of paper. And if it's legible, I will get you added to our mailing list tomorrow. For everybody online, please make sure you include your email address, if nothing else, in the chat so I can count you and add you to the roster. Please note that this does count as an event for Texas Workforce. So if you're using it for unemployment, this is an event that I'm keeping records of, and I can be contacted if need be. All right, our main event today, we're going to do open forum. We're going to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. So hopefully everybody is prepared or thought of some questions to ask everybody. I'm going to stop sharing so we can see everybody who's out here today. So if you have a question, raise your hand and I'll run around with the microphone, or for those people.
Jeff, before you go any farther, can you tilt down the camera? Thank you.
Yes. I hadn't gotten up there yet. I was on the way.
Appreciate it.
Questions, what we can ask, okay?
So I've been seeking a lot of resume advice, and I'm transitioning from public education into business, industry, or nonprofit. And because of that, someone suggested I take the MED off the end of my name because that references a master's degree in education, specifically curriculum and instruction. And so he suggested I take that off the end of my name on my resumes and on my LinkedIn page because it sends a message that I'm looking at education, even though it's very clear in my resume and my LinkedIn page that I'm looking outside of education. So I'd appreciate some advice on that. I think education, having additional education for me, the bachelor's, the master's, is helpful to job hunting, regardless of what area I'm looking at, but perhaps I'm wrong. So I wanted to be open to his advice to drop that.
Wait, hold on. You got to wait till the mic comes. Oh.
Fire whoever gave you that information. Education always should be on your resume, especially a master's degree. My opinion.
Other comments? People online, anything? Yeah, I always say you put it on there. If you got it, add it to it can't hurt because it just shows that you've gotten additional knowledge. And
Yeah, I felt like weird advice, but
right.
Don't
I
try to
would leave
hide.
it on because that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, go ahead.
By MD, comma, Masters of Education. And I would leave it on. Is that something that you want to showcase that you can complete? And there are many transferable skills in there, especially when it comes to organization, coming up with new, you said curriculum development. Well, in the business world, that translates into um, work steps, SOW, statements of work, how spelling out how to perform a certain task for somebody. So I would leave it on.
Project management. It translates to project management as well. The other thing I say is don't try to hide who you are. Be bold and proud of who you are and what you've accomplished.
I second the motion on leaving it on because your about section and your resume is all going to be tailored toward your target. And it's the experience that you've had that's appropriate to those that you're going to talk about. So the only place where it's really emphasized is going to be the MED part, which is, I think, the what people have said shows the value of that. Of course, if you want advice on resumes, everybody has one.
And they usually have 2 or 3. All right. What else? What else can we talk about? No question.
Okay, this is Walt, and it seems like today would be good for job seekers to have a certification in AI of some sort. And so my question is, has anybody out there achieved a certification? How'd you get it? What it was? Give us some details about it and how we might go about achieving that if we're interested ourselves.
I achieved a AI product manager certification from IBM/Coursera online. It took about 3 months, I'll say 2 to 3 months. Very intuitive. It starts off if you have, very beginner stages into how you can apply that. In the end, it goes to how you apply that to project management and product management world. It's 100% online. It was free. I'm alumni from UT Tyler, so the whole UT system was giving these courses for free to their alumni and their students. So if you're an alumni of that, you can contact the alumni office and see what they can help you with. Also, you may want to go to Coursera. There's a lot of other free courses on there, but with AI and other things.
Also, I know on the Career DFW, Career USA website, if you go down, I think section 8 under career files, there's a list of 8 or 10 free places you can get free free AI training. So I added those a couple months ago. So if you're interested in finding other places to get training, you can do that there.
Well, you're suggesting an AI certification for anyone, regardless of position they're seeking. Okay. Because it's so prolific now and okay.
I think I think it's a great point, Walt. I think just figure out kind of what would be most helpful for you, because you can do something as simple as LinkedIn Learning course to kind of to show that you have some exposure to it. If you want to go certification, I've seen courses. I have not done one personally, but I know people that have done like detailed coursework at University of Texas Austin for like 8 months. So that's kind of one extreme. And I've also seen people do some of the more niche kind of AI training certifications. There's a local gentleman I've met at several networking circles. I'm going to butcher his name, but he's basically a technology executive, and he does his own kind of AI boot camp type course. I'll see if I can find his information, put it in the chat. So there's a lot of different avenues. Just explore them and figure out the one that's going to work for you. Because I think because AI is still relatively new, it's obviously not as set up as the other disciplines in terms of official certification paths. So it's really just kind of find one that's going to fit what you're looking for without, going too deep or too light into it.
And one modifier that I'll add on to that is look for some courses in agentic AI. So there's a lot of information. Just I'm going to use the term, well, generic AI, but agentic AI seems to. I haven't taken the classes yet, but I've got it on my list. Seems to go more into the applications. So you learn the basics of AI, but then it also teaches you the applications and all. And last night I went to one of the IoT Texas meetups, Internet of Things, that have spawned off of this group, more technical, and they were talking about quantum. They were talking about quantum and quantum computing. It was over everybody's head there, but just another term to be aware of and something that's going that they said is going to replace AI as soon as it gets up and running. They're like, we don't even need AI, and everybody just rolled over. It was very interesting, though, so there were some leaders there, so just be aware of that, quantum and quantum computing. But again, to circle back, look for specifically agentic AI.
One other thing, if you really want to get a little more technical, you look at Meetup, and just there are a bunch of smaller kind of developer centric AI groups. I've gone to a couple of meetings, and it's really just kind of depending on what level of tech you want to go into. But great groups to find quickly and to get associated with, and then that will expose you to even more paths of education, training, certification, because so much of it is happening in so many areas.
Hey, Mike, were you talking about Jeshwan Mutusami when you were talking about the person that was giving courses?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat box.
Yeah, he was there last night.
And Meetup is a great place just to meet people who do whatever it is you do. So if you want to get out to network, it's a great way to check out the website, find groups and go there and meet those people, because it's a great way to make new connections in addition to AI. All right, what else can we answer for somebody?
This is Florence. I attended, I don't know whether you're familiar with it, or it's a networking group. It's called Bulletproof Your Career, put on I think her name is Pat Romaletti. And the topic last night was around career transition from one industry to another. And I don't know, she was a little bit discouraging in that she said that doing career transitions from one industry to another is rather difficult, and that you should focus in on your industry. But in my particular case, my area is more around my expertise, which is market research, market intelligence, competitive intelligence. So I really think that, the previous job I had, I did not have any industry experience within that industry, but I was hired into that industry. But I would appreciate people's input into where you think. I mean, I think her thoughts were that right now companies are very, risk averse. They're not willing to take risks with people coming from different industries, regardless of their technical ability, and so I'd be interested in people's thoughts on that, if that's what they're seeing, if that they believe that or not.
Good question, Florence. Sometimes we don't have a choice. We have to change industries. And so a couple of things. One is on the careerdfw.org website, there are a list of videos that Jeff has recorded over the years. And in the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, there's one on changing careers or industries and how you go about doing that. So you might look up that video. I actually gave that presentation. Plus, Clayton Stockdale, if you know about Clayton, at the CSN network out in South Lake area, I guess. No, he's over in Fort Worth. He has a presentation on changing careers, industries, and making that pivot and the things we want to look at. So I would say it is a little more difficult, of course, to move into it, but there are ways that we can do that. And one is to get knowledgeable about the industry, have industry knowledge, use their lingo, talk like them, understand their measurements, what they're looking for, and how to do that so that when you walk in, you don't just look like a brand new person in that industry, that you know something about it, it interests you, it motivates you, et cetera, to do that. So, yes, people will hire somebody in the industry generally before they hire somebody outside of the industry. But if we get the opportunity to sell that, we still have a great percentage of chance to get that role. So I wouldn't say strike it off your list. I'd say if it's an industry you like, enjoy, and want to go for it.
When I hired people, I always hired people for their skills, not necessarily what their background was, because I liked it when I brought in somebody from outside the industry looking at what we did. And I always would sit down with them the first week they were working and say, you question anything we do here, question it, and come let me know what you see, because you may have a great idea that we haven't thought about, or that we haven't considered. So for me, I valued people outside the industry, bringing them into what I was doing. So, but I think it's up to a manager, so managers are, I got to have somebody who's in this particular field, and they don't, the skills don't matter, but skills and what you can do. When I look at a resume, I'm going to look at a resume for results. And if you have the results that I need, I'm going to want to talk to you and bring you in for an interview.
When you get a degree from school, it's not a degree in a particular industry.
Right.
I mean, there are industry degrees that you can get, but there are a lot of jobs that are, we call them industry agnostic, but industry knowledge still helps. And so for those of us that have those, a project manager is a project manager, okay? And so it doesn't necessarily mean that your job is not transferable. And I don't like the term of transferable skills. I like the term of, here's how I can help you in your organization, in this job, and in this area. Focus on selling that.
Any other comments from anybody? Another topic? Anybody else have a topic? Come on, too early to end the meeting. Anybody online? What do you want to talk about?
Hi, Jeff. I put in the chat, this is Alkeisha Rodriguez. I put in the chat a list of classes that I also compiled, the individual classes. I was just looking at what you had on your USA.org website, and it's similar. So thank you for that. I'm compiling both of them and I'm putting them together.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. And in addition, my question, since there's a big gap in the space here, starting the new year off, I'm trying to sort out my time and my allotment, and I'm trying to pivot, especially Fiscal Connect Tuesday with Gail Houston's suggestion about doing things a little differently and her suggestion. Do you have any pointers? Get us a reset, it's an opportunity to do things different. What do you see as doing differently that we should be doing differently this year?
Just a couple thoughts. One, definitely, looking at kind of your time and testing and learning and figuring out how to shake things up is a good exercise. I do on a routine basis instead of just once a year. But one good benchmark for me, I think it was Dee Robinson, gave a presentation, I believe in this forum, if not some of the other forums, South Lake or the other ones. And she did a great job of basically pie chart of your time. Here's really how you should, best practice, or how you should spend your time. And that was very helpful for me because mine was way out of whack. So one thought, I don't know if you have that content in a D presentation.
Yeah, it should be up online.
It's probably the look at the
Career USA YouTube.
Career USA YouTube. Just search for Dee Robinson. She gave an excellent presentation.
Do you remember the date?
What?
Do you remember the date of the presentation?
I do not. So you're gonna have to.
Or the
You're gonna have,
title?
you're D Robinson. You're gonna have to search.
It's just her. Okay. Okay. I have another question. If there's no one else talking.
Here too, right?
But I don't think she's been time.
Hey, Alkeisha, I see one for D. It's fine to negotiate your next great job. That might be the one that
He's referring to?
uh-huh.
Okay.
And I'll drop that in the chat in just a few minutes.
Well,
Thank
we're
you.
thinking that it's probably going to come off the Frisco Connect website because I don't think Dee's done that presentation here for us.
Oh, okay, okay.
So if somebody checks out Frisco Connect and look at their past videos and find it, that'd be great.
I do have another question.
Well, before that, what else are you doing new this year?
Oh, okay.
What else are you doing differently?
I've told myself I have to attend things in person rather than relying on Zoom for everything, which goes against my religion, but I'm doing it.
For those of you on Zoom, take note. Unless you live outside the DFW area. Hold on.
Now, one thing I haven't done, but I have a goal for this year is to be more mindful, systematic about how I do LinkedIn posting. I kind of been either heavy or really light in it, but I'd love to hear people's thoughts, any best practices they do that help for them, how you can have a consistent, thoughtful online presence. It's something I've kind of struggled with. I've either been crazy heavy, almost like try hard a little bit, to very little. So I'm trying to smooth it out and make it more consistent.
Well, I like the one fact that Terry Sullivan talks about that if you're following other people in the field and you comment on their post and make a, 30, 40 word statement back, that you can tend to get more connections that way. People will follow you, and you may even hear back from the person who posted the video, which then opens up more connections with you.
Except for a time standpoint, amount of your time, like sitting at the computer all day on LinkedIn, you almost can't overdo LinkedIn. So your point was exact. Terry Sullivan's idea there, and even to the point that I read some advice that you can go in and just make some minor changes to your profile, nothing over, but it gets you up in the algorithm. It shows you, and same thing with commenting and with following people and companies. So I'm following way more companies this time around than I did last time. And the other comment I was going to make is I actually made a conscious decision to attend a few less meetings, make sure that I'm networking more. I'm going to some more networking meetings, some technical stuff. But I had Walt Glass one day. I'll never forget one of the sessions where they did up in Allen at the church in Allen. I don't know if they're still doing that or not. And Walt met me in the parking lot and said, "John, what are you doing here?" Because he saw me everywhere. Of course, Walt said all of them, and that really struck a chord with me. Thinking, okay, you're really kind of overdoing this. You need to change it up a bit.
Yeah, I think more personal contacts, more, reaching out to contacts, making that phone call, trying to meet somebody. If you can meet one or two people every day, it will help expand your connections.
I too have been sporadic in my LinkedIn, liking, posting, and commenting. So what I did was the liking and the commenting are easy. I just pop in a couple times a week and do that. But the posting was hard to remember to do that. So I would sit down on a Saturday or Sunday, get my posts, one or two for the week, get them set up, and then schedule them to go out either Sunday night, Tuesday morning, or Thursday morning, which are the recommended times.
Yeah, you can use because you can schedule your posts now. They don't have to go out immediately. So take care of them beforehand. I used to do my Saturdays is when I used to go and update the website and get all my postings for the week so that I didn't have to post anything Monday through Friday. Everything would automatically hit because I pre-programmed it all.
What were those prime times?
Where the
Sunday night It's Sunday evening, Tuesday morning, and Thursday morning, I believe.
Monday, everybody's busy trying to figure out what happened over the weekend. Friday, no peace paying attention because they're ready to go home. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, which are also great if you're going to have an interview. If somebody wants to schedule your interview, don't do it on Monday. You do it on Tuesdays or Thursdays because those are also better days when people are going to have more time on their hands. You don't want to schedule on Friday because they're thinking about what they're going to do that weekend. Mondays are putting out fires from the weekend. All right, you had another question.
Yes, Jeff. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Jeff, Walt made mention about updating the summary portion of the resume. Is that where we should put our focus when we are tailoring a resume for a job description, or is there something we were supposed to go through the whole resume and update it accordingly? It just seems I'm trying to maximize my time, like we just mentioned, about using it more effectively and more efficiently. What are your thoughts?
I said, what? How many versions of your resume do you have?
Oh, a few, depending on the topic and the title that they're looking for.
Well, there's a balance here because we always suggest, and I know Jeff's a proponent of tailoring your resume to the particular job. But at the same time, it must be consistent with a resume that's on LinkedIn. So the LinkedIn may cover a few more things specifically, but your resume may change the bullets slightly, reorder them, pick out the ones. Jeff talks about the master resume, and you pull it over and then you take out everything that's not relevant to that particular job, change your job title to their job title, et cetera. But you still have to have something that's consistent. And if you're continually updating your resume, the updates that I hear about are, put in a period, then erase it, and now it's changed, and save it. And so now it's new. And a lot of people look for, the more recent one. And so that's a trick to try to get noticed, but it doesn't really change any of the content of your resume. So that's my advice, is to put together a resume that basically states, in my area, my job, and my target, what I can do. This is basically it. And then if there's some things particular in a job description, you can still have them concluded on your LinkedIn resume, but it's a shorter one that you would send out. So if that's what I was trying to say, Keisha.
Thank you for clarifying.
Your master resumes are great because that way you've done it once and all you have to do is start getting rid of stuff. And just remember, the person who's going to see your resume at first doesn't care about everything you've done in life. They only want to know, what can you do to solve this job description? So you want to make it match as close as possible to whatever they're asking for, making sure that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Hi, this is Malar. This is the first time I'm attending this meeting. Nice to meet you all. This is just 2 cents from my side. The suggestion which I received: whenever you create a resume, you can have two sections. One is the skills, the other one is the technical skills. So, and the summary should capture what is your technical skills and also how you go with the team collaboration. Because whenever I was showing my resume to one of the expert, they were mentioning, see, as soon as I see your resume, I can see that you're technically, sounds good, but I don't see anywhere in the resume that you are a good team collaborator. So the summary, if it can capture your technical skills and the team collaboration, that would be great. And next, you can have 2 sections. One is the skills, the other one is the technical skills. The skills can have some informations like, so your technical skill is not going to change often unless and until you see some technical skills, and if you wanted to read and study and add it in your resume. Otherwise your technical skills is not going to change often, but the skills there which can capture all the key points from the job description. For example, if they say like work in a tight timelines, and team collaboration, and should be detailed to the work, and on-time delivery and all these stuff. All these key informations alone, you can just update it you can add it in the skill section, so that you don't have to keep changing your whole resume all the time. Just change that particular part alone, and you should be good to upload the resume for that particular position. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, what else can we talk about? We've got lots of time. We can just sit here and look at each other. What else?
My goals are for this year.
Okay.
Okay, this is Florence. I think my goals for this year is to really focus in on networking. I think that's an area that I need to really build and work on. I mean, I've been networking online, but I think more networking in person and just reaching out, trying to schedule meetings with people, just maybe lunch meetings and things like that. Second, I just agree with the LinkedIn. I have access to LinkedIn Learning through LHH, so I want to leverage that as long as I have that. Because I feel like one thing that I've noticed is the technical skills do matter. And so just look at some areas where I need to be able to demonstrate that I try to get some certifications on some learning to show that I'm learning. So while I'm not working, that it can show how I've been using my time. And then also, I agree with the others on the LinkedIn postings, being a little bit more consistent. I keep hearing that the better your postings are on LinkedIn Learning, the more likely that companies are going to be reaching out to you. I'm not sure that that's true or not, but that's an area. Those are 3 areas that I'm going to focus in on. And then one area that I really want to concentrate on is interview practice. Really nailing the interview and being really comfortable talking, because that's just not, some people who are extroverts, they have no problem talking about themselves. I'm not a salesperson, so that's one area that I definitely need to concentrate and focus in on.
And for LinkedIn Learning, everybody can access it. You just have to have a public library card. If you've got a City of Dallas public library or Plano, most library systems offer one of the access things you can access is LinkedIn Learning. So it's a great tool. If you don't have a public library card, get one. And if you need one and your local library doesn't offer it, you can get one through the City of Houston. Their public library offers it for anybody in the state.
One other goal for me this year is to do a better job of engaging recruiters. My experience, it's been kind of hit or miss. And so there was another, I just put a link on the chat site to another Frisco Connect session on Tuesday. And if you guys were able to go, there was a recruiter, Gail Houston, I think. She's an excellent recruiter. And she gave a lot of, kind of debunked a lot of myths about recruiters and gave some good tips on best practices to engage them better. So just a thought. It was definitely worthwhile. So I put a link to the video because they posted it on their site, so you can watch that at your leisure.
Yeah, it was interesting when Gail talked on Tuesday. A couple things she mentioned. It was just like she says she looks at everybody's if you've applied for a job, she will look at your. I mean, she's maybe only giving you 10 seconds, but she's looking at your profile to see. She'll look at everyone that comes in. And the other thing is she reads cover letters. So she is not the normal recruiter, but she's good at what she does.
So when I do post on LinkedIn, how important is it that I include the hashtags?
Anybody use? Huh?
She's going to go to a Tuesday session.
I historically had not done that, but I just think after talking with Terry Sullivan and some other people, it just explodes your reach like significantly. So I think it's a good best practice.
Does anybody here search on hashtags on LinkedIn? I don't, so I don't know. You just validate. You never know who is looking. So it won't hurt. 3 to 5 hashtags per post. That would be the max.
Yeah, because otherwise, it's relying on the LinkedIn algorithm, which nobody knows.
Right. And LinkedIn, when you post something, it only goes to less than 50% of your people or your first degree connections. So it has to have some reach. Now, if a lot of people share your comment, it will help your profile will, or your link will get out farther also, will help.
I just have a question. So when using the hashtags, is that just when you have a hashtag, how does that work exactly? So
Who wants to explain hashtags? Anybody want to explain hashtags? No? Okay.
I have a
don't really
comment on
know.
hashtags.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the hashtag open to work and some other ones along those lines, I know scammers are using those and they're searching on that. So the gentleman in the room is correct. It's going to get a lot of visibility and explode, but just be careful that if somebody comes back and offers you a job and trust your gut. That's all I can say with the hashtag.
Well, and you probably don't want to use open to work if you're just posting about something in your field. You want to post a few things in your field.
Yeah, when I've used hashtags and I haven't used them extensively, I've been surgical about them in terms of like, particularly I'm in data and analytics, so I'll put some tag that I know is relevant to kind of my field of interest. I've never done the open to work, the kind of the broad ones, and so I could see how that might cause some problems for you. So I would put it within one that makes sense for the content that you're posting.
And you also can put a person's name in there too. So if you want a certain person for it to show up on their news feed, you can do that also.
So hashtags are specific, right? You don't just make them up.
Yeah, well, you do make them up. I mean, you do make up. The question was, do you make up hashtags or are they specific? You can search hashtags on there and see how many people are following those particular hashtags on LinkedIn. But yeah, you can make up whatever you want. Terry Sullivan says every time he posts, one of the hashtags he posts is his name, hashtag Terry Sullivan, just so that anybody who's following Terry will see it pop up.
What I might recommend to you is just look at your feed. There's a lot of people that use the hashtags, and you can kind of get a sense for what hashtags are being used. For example, I know a lot of recruiters that are regular posters on there will use the hashtag, hashtag hiring. And so, so then when you go into search, you just do the hashtag hiring, it pulls back every post out there where people have used that hashtag on their article. And I think there's also a case to be made about using too many hashtags. So, to this gentleman's point, you want to be picky or surgical, I like your words, about the hashtags you use. Because I've seen posts where there's like 10 or 15 hashtags, and that's honestly a signal for me to move on. But yeah, you can just invent your own hashtag, and but the thing you want to try and do is use a hashtag that people are likely going to be searching on. So if you're posting on a particular topic, like let's say it was agentic AI, an article you read on agentic AI, and you had a hot take on it, you might do hashtag agentic or hashtag AI.
And I think you can search hashtag and it'll show you how many people are following that particular hashtag.
One new tip that I'm going to try this year that I heard recently was for online engagements, really leveraging like the communities, the LinkedIn pages for your particular area of expertise or interest that a lot of recruiters, hang out there. And because of, the like-minded audience. And so it's a great resource that's been largely untapped. And then the one other suggestion that she had that I didn't even think about was she said Facebook groups. A lot of people don't think of Facebook groups as something to help in your job search. It's more like, hobby or general interests or just, some kind of, small focus areas. She said she finds a lot of candidates in Facebook groups, which I did not expect.
Yeah, I had never heard that either.
In libraries, they also give the Udemy for free. Udemy is also good for learning stuffs like, whatever topic you want, you can just learn that. And I also have a question, like if somebody is providing any free Coursera or in this group, if there's going to be any person coming and teaching about any technical stuffs or something like that.
Well, I know next week we have a speaker about AI, so I know that's next. Oh, online, somebody had a hand? Yes.
Something I'm going to do different this year. Land a career. I'm going to get hired, just like everybody else wants to do. I think that's where everyone would like to celebrate. And that's where we should be at. I think what everyone should keep in the back of their minds are, certainly there's a lot of great tools out there. Frisco Connect is a great tool. Southlink is great. The Pick Crew is great. Resume preparation is great. But networking is a big key here. I'm in the midst of an interview right now. I was shot down the first time. I got denied. Automatic email. We're moving on to a different candidate. Don't take no for an answer, people. Keep on going in the process. Believe in yourself. Be confident in yourself. Rejections are going to happen, but also network. So in this particular role, I've been through 4 interviews and continually go through the process of networking. This week I was at Pick Crew, mentioned what I was interested in. Ron Layton gave me a reference of somebody that was in a company that I'm interviewing with. And of all things, the person that I contacted actually knows the guy that I'm visiting with next Monday. So it's a small world that we live in, but those are the things that can help you know what you're walking into before you get there.
When we get laid off, it sounds pretty negative and everything. Well, there was a coach for the Ravens that was fired this week. There's 8 other football teams looking for him. And he'll probably be interviewed by these 8 teams. So that's true for us as well. There's people looking for us that are out there. So we continue to work to find that match. But when we get laid off, that doesn't mean that there's not people that need us desperately. So keep the faith and keep the fight.
And one other thing I'll add, people hire people. Computers do not hire people. AI does not hire people. ATSs do not hire people. People hire people.
Oh, well, that's okay. Yeah, Walt's just reminding me there was the person who was in this group who got hired and he had to go to Detroit or somewhere in Michigan. He was hired by the US government and no interviews, nothing. He got hired strictly off his resume. He never got a phone call. They just called him up on one day with the job offer. And he had to go to Michigan for 1 year before he could work online and work anywhere. That doesn't happen often now.
No. And one other thing I remember from this group last time I was in is go hang out with employed people. Like it's great for all of us, but we're all looking for jobs and we make great connections because we do our introductions and say, hey, well, I've got contacts at these various companies. But like I went to the IoT Texas meetup last night and I probably had at least 4 suggestions and invitations to some technical meetings. They said, hey, you need to come and hang out with us. One of them's IEEE. So they're more of the technical stuff for me, but the IEEE meeting. And so they sent me the link to that. So it's important to go to some of these technical meetups. We've talked about it 4 times in here already, but I just want to go hang out with employed people.
Yeah, I used to always say, when you first start your job search, go to as many of these meetings as you can for the first couple of weeks, figure out the ones you like, and then cut it down to 2 or 3 meetings a week, these kinds of meetings, because we're all unemployed. You want to go to the meetups, to the professional organizations, who are meeting or who all have jobs. All right.
I've been attending the AI meetup group. I started attending that. Someone had recommended that I start attending that when I had been released from my position. And so I guess one of the questions is that when you go there, there are a lot of people who are working, but if you're not working, what kind of introduction do you make? Like, in order to kind of build those relationships, do you say that I'm in the career search, or how do you kind of phrase that?
You start with them. So you talk about them and say, well, tell me, what are you in? What are you doing? What's your job? How's it going? Et cetera. And then they'll come around and come back and say, well, what are you doing? And now they are interested in finding out what you had to say. And you say, well, I'm currently looking for this type of opportunity and this kind of role. Would you know anybody that I should talk to? Is there anybody in your company that might, well, should I talk with you or something like that to make that connection? So it's not a walk up there and say, okay, can you help me? And start out. And if you're genuinely interested in them and their information, that's how you build relationships, not talking about us, but let them talk about them. And they love to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
Would you know if you ask somebody for their advice, if I ask you for your advice, how would you feel? You want to hear what I have to say? Nobody ever asks me for my advice. I try to get people to listen to me all the time, and they don't pay any attention whatsoever. And you're seeking my advice. Advice is a great word to use. So I'm in this opportunity. What advice would you have to give me, in this? Something like that. How does that sound?
For those looking to kind of refine their networking game, I put the link to a book that was helpful for me. It's called The 20-Minute Networking Meeting. It's pretty cheap buy, but it's a good book. It gives you kind of like a framework, similar, like the STAR method for interviewing, storytelling. Similar, it gives you kind of like a framework suggested approach to have really effective, focused networking meetings. Because I mean, the wonderful thing in DFW, I've only been here about 3 years now, but I mean, DFW is kind of unique in terms of like the networking opportunities here are pretty amazing. I mean, I lived in Chicago for 20 years. There's nothing like this in Chicago. So it's unique, but to earlier comment, you can spend all your time just going to networking meetings here. I mean, there's so many and there's so many options. So understanding which ones are going to work for you and having a game plan for each are going to get you, I think, make it most effective for you. Put the link in the.
The link is in the chat window. So everybody will get the link in the chat. It's called the 20-Minute Networking Meeting. All right, what else can we talk about?
I have a topic that may be a little bit it's very personal to me and probably a lot of us here, but it's very sensitive in regards to finances.
Okay.
I've been unemployed for almost 4 months. I'm out of savings. I'm to the point where I may need to tap into my 401k. Is that recommended? Is not? I'm kind of exploring options right now that could hurt or help. But yeah, any advice would be helpful.
A great part-time job. Well, part-time, yeah, part-time because you can work as much or as little as you want. It's a great opportunity for a lot of people, not so good for some people, but substitute teaching, if you have a degree, check into getting licensed, certified for that. There's so many schools and so many districts around here that there's tons of opportunity, and I'm guessing that they have a great need for substitutes. So that way you can pick and choose what days you work, what days you want to not work, so you can interview or job search or whatever the case. There's a lot of freedom and flexibility with it, but it's not an easy job for many people. So
Yeah, when I got out of college, I was a substitute teacher, and I only taught 3 or 4 times. And the last time I did it, I was substituting for a woman's gym teacher. And I went, all right, I'm done. That's how you're going to assign me to substitute teach. I'm done doing that. So, but it is definitely, it's a good way to get some extra money. Anybody else want to talk about 401ks or
Oh, well, yeah, let's finish talking about that. I was going to ask more questions about substitute teaching.
anybody else comments about 401ks?
Julio, there are tax ramifications if you do take out of your 401k. Look into, and I don't know how old you are, if you're over the age of 55 and you are unemployed, you can take it out. There are tax implications and there are penalties for early withdrawal. So you'll have to look into exactly what that says.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
Jobs like Uber and Lyft.
Uber, Lyft, DoorDash,
Stuff like that.
other things. Yeah.
I have a good friend that's doing that. I have a really good friend that's actually employed, but they have a single income family, and he's been doing like the DoorDash stuff because he doesn't want to carry people around in his car. But he's been doing it for years, so apparently he's making enough money to make it worth his while. With actually, I've been thinking about having a little informational interview with him to see how that's going, and I've given that some consideration.
There's also the shoppers. For some reason, it's not coming to my mind what that one is called, but you go shopping for somebody and deliver the groceries to their house.
Cart or something like that. Yeah.
Instacart, maybe.
Probably. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, Kathy, I see I see you have your hand up. And it's
Yes.
down.
Yeah. Okay. No, I had my hand up. I had a question. I want to clarify something that was said earlier. Jeff, you've taught us not to put our resume on LinkedIn. Is that still accurate?
I'm a believer in that. Put your one-page bio on LinkedIn, not your resume, because when you put a resume on LinkedIn, it's not customized for the job description.
Right. That's what I thought. I wanted to confirm that. My second question is, should all of our experience be on our LinkedIn profile? When we talk about our resume matching our LinkedIn profile, I have my master resume matching my LinkedIn profile, which shows all of my experience. Is that the right way to do it?
I think people look at it both ways. Personally, I say, yes, put your master resume on LinkedIn, tell them everything you've ever done, because you don't know what's going to stand out or what they're looking for. But if somebody searches for that particular thing, you'll show up. When you cut it down your resume, the important thing is always have a section called prior relevant experience, talking about those companies that it's on your LinkedIn profile, but you wouldn't put them on your resume because there are more than 10 or 15 years in the prior. But by putting prior relevant experience on a resume, you can then talk about something that happened back then that you didn't happen to have on your resume.
Thank you. That's what I have, and that's what I thought. I appreciate your confirmation.
That is my opinion. I don't get paid to recommend that. But some people don't believe that. Some people just put down the last 10 years of your resume on LinkedIn. But I say put it all on there, because I think also back in the day when I was back on it 15 years ago, you could connect with other people who also worked at that company at the same time. So if you're trying to network with people who you used to work with, LinkedIn would show you who those connections were.
These are defunct or changed names.
Well, a lot of my companies are defunct, and so Florence wanted to know what about defunct companies? List them anyway, because you're still gonna, other people who post are gonna also post the old name. Now, if your company's been acquired by somebody, you'd want to list, just like you would on a resume, so-and-so company acquired by whoever in whatever the year was. You'd want to show both.
I post online a link to it, but for those folks looking to make a little bit of money to kind of bridge the gap, there's a site called I think it's called Penny Hoarders. And they gave a list of like 50 different areas where you can make money. Everything from doing online product reviews to writing small short stories. There's like a bunch of different ways out there in the kind of increasingly gig economy if you want to just make a little bit of money to help bridge the gap.
My suggestion on a resume is that everything that's on there has something that applies to the job you're looking for. So if you have a water safety instructor's license, I don't think they're looking for a lifeguard, so you don't need to put that on there, right? But in your previous job, some people say 10 years or whatever. And so 10 years for one thing. Well, look at IT. What we did in IT 10 years ago has no relevance to today. No, it's zero. It's whatever that. However, I'm going to tell you that I learned a lot when I was dealing with punch cards. I was sorting cards. I was printing them on a 407 printer that printed one line every second. I was sorting and collating and doing cards that were 73,000 cards for an inventory for a company. And I'll do that. But it was the technology was old. The technology. But here, what did I learn from that job? What was important to me about that? My suggestion is actually somebody says, walk you through your resume. Okay, well, in company A, I help them achieve this. In company B, I help them achieve this. In company C, I help them achieve this. All achievements that are relevant to that particular job. And then if they want to know more details about that particular job, they can get it. But the whole idea is something that's on there that says, I can tell you something about that role, that job, that position that's very relevant to this job today. So that's my suggestion.
So then is it okay to go back and like on the LinkedIn, my experience in LinkedIn, which is my master resume, is it okay to include a position like from 30 years ago? Because I would love to use my skills in food service, the food service industry, but I have no food service experience that's less than 30 years old. So would I include that?
On LinkedIn, I do.
I want to include it because it's something I have. So yeah, and I remember it from that long ago. So why not include it? It just, they talk about it dates you, it ages you, and exactly. Okay.
Something long ago. If it's relevant, use it. I mean, I learned my leadership skills 30 years ago. Okay. And I've, continued to hone them and stuff, but there's been events and things that have happened. So I'll put some of that down. But if it's relevant to this, you say, yeah, you do have that experience. And guess what? There's still things in handling food that are relevant to handling food today. Right? Okay.
All right, what else can we talk about? I always love these Friday meetings because you never know where we're going and we talk about a broad subject, lots of different things.
So something funny along the food handling stuff is someone I was at a party with grabbed a glass to scoop ice out of the cooler. And I took the glass out of her hand and handed her a plastic glass and said, I still remember what I learned in my food handling class 50 years ago before I started my first food handling job.
Yep.
What was learning? I want to know.
Don't use a glass.
Glasses can chip. If you use glass, it can chip. Always use plastic when you're digging an ice.
Yeah, it was.
Yes. So don't use a glass in an ice maker.
Yeah, but there's a tiny bit more to that. Yes, the glass will chip, and now you've got a broken piece of glass in with ice. Which is which? And so when you have a big ice tub in a restaurant, you have to empty the entire ice tub. So it's not that it chips, it's that you'll never find that piece of glass. So it's a big mess.
But some people won't even look. They won't even, nowadays, people don't even care.
Exactly. But, we learned good food handling, so.
So while we're on the subject, should I include, if it's a job specific to food service, should I include a ServSafe certification that is expired like 30 years ago? Is that stupid to include that? Or does that mean something that even though it's expired, I had that and I remember most of that information?
Well, I would include it if it's important. If it's important, the job you want.
And just list it as expired?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, Dave, one food service thing I remember is when you load your dishwasher, do not put like all the spoons together, because when the spoons are sitting next to each other, they're not going to clean properly because they're seated, they'll tend to form and all sit in the same pattern, and there'll be no way for anything to get to clean. Spooning, yes. Don't spoon your spoons.
Well, I was just thinking here about what your comment, but I think one of the comments that Pat, when I was listening last night to her bulletproof your career, is that, again, getting back to the industry, I think if you have any kind of experience, regardless of how old it is, if you can demonstrate that experience, then that kind of lowers their risk averseness to you. So companies, like she really emphasized that companies today are very risk averse. And so anything that, if it's going to help you in any way, regardless of how old it is, my thought is you need to include it. And that's what I learned last night. So.
Okay.
The one thing I have a problem with my resume is the positions out there, because apparently AI is basically taking over accounts receivable, that I'm trying to cross over to accounts payable. And that would age me if I make a comment on my resume, because that's 20 years ago that I did accounts payable. So how do you do that? How do you work that in and try not to age yourself?
I think what you can do is you can summarize, put that in your summary, is what I'm thinking off the top of my head, is just add that accounts payable in your summary, maybe not down in your job description, but kind of like where you're emphasizing your skill sets. Maybe put it up there, because number one, it's at the top, and then it's going to get picked up by the ATS system. And I would just kind of put it in when you're summarizing yourself at the very top of your resume, is my thought.
Yeah, I mean, what's going to be different in accounts payable now than 30 years ago? Primarily, it's the computer system they're using to keep track of that information.
Well, accounts payable's got two different divisions. You're either paying your overhead or you're paying your bills. So because you're paying your commissions, you're paying expense reports. Those, they come in two different categories.
Okay. All right, what else? What else can we talk about? For everybody here in the room, if you want, I got the latest Dallas Business Journal Book of List. So if you want to look through that, this is available. And then the top best places to work from the Dallas Business Journal. I've got that edition here if you want to look at it to find target companies. Anybody had any good interviewing questions they've had posed to them that they wondered how to answer?
I guess I had an interview and they wanted to use the star method on every single question that was asked. And one of them was a little kind of like, for instance, they asked, how do you, give a star example of how you manage multiple tasks, like your experience with managing multiple tasks or multiple projects. Well, for my previous job, that's something that I did just regularly. Every single day, I was managing multiple projects. And so, and remembering every single project that I worked with in the day, because sometimes you're just kind of like, it's just your day is just so busy. So you kind of manage that project. You're just like, you might be, allocating your times to different things, but remembering exact detail of that can be somewhat like something that you did several months ago. It can be challenging. So how would you, if someone was to say, give me a star example of how you managed your project, managed multiple projects under a tight schedule, can you kind of provide some insight into how to answer that for a star question?
So I had the same example for like, how do you manage stressful situation? How do you tell us about a stressful situation and how you managed it? And for me, same as you, as like, I do this every day as an assistant principal. That's what I do all day long is handle. So I don't have one example to give you. So my brilliant young daughter suggested, instead of focusing on one example, you talk about how you manage all of them. So, and just to tell them, yes, I have, what was your example?
What do you mean?
What you said they asked you, for example, for, multitasking. So you don't have one example. Well, I have multiple. I multitask every day, every minute of my career. So this is how I manage it. I create lists. I prioritize duties that I need to get done, and just list out how you do that instead of focusing on one example of multitasking. Does that make sense?
Process.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the motive behind the question?
Well, I'm assuming that it's an environment. Well, just based on talking, I'm assuming that it's an environment where you're getting multiple requests from multiple stakeholders. And so you're basically being required to manage your time with each stakeholder request. And so you may be required to work on, which is what I did in my previous position. That's my day-to-day activity, is managing multiple projects from multiple stakeholders, because I'm in market research. So that's just common. So I guess my question but I think she was wanting, like, give me an example of a time when you manage multiple projects for multiple stakeholders. And manage multiple, but that to me was something that I did on a regular basis. I guess giving a specific time, how do you answer that? Because it's something you do daily.
That's what I was saying. On a day-to-day basis, I am doing multiple projects.
Yeah, I don't think you might want to list a few projects or something, but they're asking really about multitasking. So how do you handle multitasking? So you start and says, well, I live in the environment where I have multiple stakeholders giving me different priorities for multiple tasks. So what I do is, and then step 1, step 2, step 3, how do you handle two VPs that tell you that their task is more important than anything else? And so how do you go? So when I have two VPs telling me they got top priorities, what I do is, this is how you handle it. You discuss it. You go to the other VP, says, here's the deal. Give me some help on which you think is most important to the company, which is, well, how are you going to do that so that you can handle that vice president? I said, okay, I'll put you as number two. You'll be right. You'll be next. I expect to give you a delivery and a deadline, a date on delivering it by that time so you can satisfy. That's what they're really looking for. So it's not say, well, on a typical day, sometimes they ask you on a typical day, how many projects are you responsible for? And so the number of them can be important too. He says, well, on a typical day, I probably have 13 different projects, or 12 or 5 or 8 or 20 or whatever it might be. And here's how I go about handling those. And so when you give them a number, that then gives them some ideas of how much you really have to multitask. Okay. Does that help?
Recent interview I had two newer questions. One would be, it's one company, it was actually Hershey's, was interested in star stories, but they had a slightly different take on it. So instead of just talking about the actions you took, they wanted you to specifically talk about like obstacles you had to overcome to get your success. So that was so I kind of had to prep separately for that. And in terms of different questions, one of the questions I had, which was a little bit of a curveball for me, is the gentleman asked, if I took this role, what is like my 5-year plan? So he didn't want to just know what about this role, but what would I do for the next 5 years? And so I kind of stumbled my way through it, but that was kind of an interesting question.
Yeah, I think that's a hard one to ask because quite frankly, you're lucky if you're there in 2 years. So, I'll be in 3 different jobs by then.
Put that back on and say, are you telling me I'm going to be here 5 years from now?
Yes.
That'd be the first thing.
I'd like the commitment.
Yeah, I'd like.
I also got a similar question like that. So the question was like, you are getting 2 different requests from 2 different clients, and how do you handle this situation? I mean, when I was trying to answer them, I was telling that, I would like to first prioritize what is first and what is next. And still, they'll ask, both are of high priority. And then I'll say, what I was telling is like, instead of giving nothing to one client, I would say like, I will provide whatever is the minimum to both the clients and then provide the remaining at the mentioned a deadline or something like that. Because, whatever request we get, we already do the planning and everything. But in spite of that, something ad hoc comes in. And so we cannot say that we will add additional resource. That's not going to be right because they will end up in thinking that we are not smart enough to do that work as well. And so what I handled is like I just mentioned that, instead of not giving nothing, I will just give them minimum, and then we will also have some trust towards that client, and they will also have some trust towards us. So based on the connection which we have, we can just try to speak with them and then try to let them know that we will be providing the remaining soon or something like that.
Just speaking from experience, not necessarily an interview question, but every time multitasking, we all do it. And sometimes you get those projects that are just overwhelming. There's no way you can do it in 24 hours, 48 hours, or whatever the deadline is. So instead of taking it all on yourself, build a team. When you get that task, hey, can I have so-and-so for 2 days to help me out? Or I need to not just reprioritize, because again, you could fail on both or some of the tasks, but you just don't have enough assets to go around. So I would ask for help, even if it's from a different team that you're not leading or part of, because what I find is sometimes you build that team, and they're like, well, I'm not that busy. I can do X, Y, and Z, and they solve your problems for you. I think that demonstrates a little bit of teamwork and leadership at the same time.
Building on that answer right now, I think that, while obviously talking about your thought process, like what Walt was talking about, this multitasking question is good because that's ultimately what they want to know. But again, I guess we have said several times, people remember stories. So even though your day-to-day work might be all about, prioritizing and multitasking, an example like the one you just mentioned a second ago, it's a good one. It's where, you can select some story that you might remember, of the many things that happened to you, maybe as a principal, I think one person mentioned, and just talk about, yes, how you prioritize, how you do the process, but it's people will remember stories, not just the thought process. So thought process is good, but if you actually talk about like, hey, and I had to do this team building thing, or requested extra resources, or modify this because of the needs of this project, people will remember that more than just the thought process.
This is Walt again. Two comments. Number one of the biggest errors I see when people are telling star stories is they tell what they would do, not what they did do. I would do this, I would do that. No, I don't want to know what you would do, because I can read that out of a book. I want to know if you've done it and if you've been through that experience. And so it's in what I did. So if you got multitasking two things, well, I had this time when I had two, and you talk about that individual story, which is going to be a lot more powerful. And of course, remembering the stories are huge. They are one of the biggest positive factors that we can do in an interview, because it demonstrates so many different things in how we work, how we approach, how we think, how we communicate, who we involve, etc. And so it's very powerful. And those institutions that use behavioral event interviewing as their method of telling star stories. Second comment, go look at your job description, put everything that's required on the left side. A soft skill is one line, so multitasking is a line, leadership is a line, whatever. And then you want to say, where in my star stories does that demonstrate it? So I can demonstrate that skill or that strength or whatever it might be, because we actually demonstrate our strengths more than we tell them about our strengths. And it comes through that story. So you want to tie everything back. So we should be ready for a multitasking, what's a favorite phrase that you see today in a job description? Fast moving, highly, okay. And so that's, I wonder if they know what they're doing. Is it chaos? Is it, is it lack of leadership? What's causing all of that? What it might be. So if they ask me that question that you ask and say, what did you be doing in 5 years? I said, well, let me ask you something. Where do you expect to be in 5 years? Where is the company? What is that? If you know their goals and their vision and their mission, you say, well, based on your goals of and your vision of, or your value, of this, I would expect this is where, a probability of use in 5 years. Where do you think you see the greatest needs are for the company, and where should we be moving? How can I make a difference there? As a follow-up question to say with that. My favorite joke is asking the mayfly, where will you be in 5 minutes? If you don't know mayflies, they only live 5 minutes. So, and the other thing I want to say is where you want to be in 5 years. And I said, I don't know. 5 years ago, did you know you would be here today? Where you are now? I don't ask that.
But you're thinking, huh?
Thinking. Are you going to talk about the 5-year thing? Yeah. Okay. So my question is kind of around, you get a question asking about, have you done a thing? And in truth, you're like, well, I haven't really done that. So I was in an interview back in, I think it was back in November, and I was asked a question around change management. And the way he phrased the question, what he was really getting to is basically, they were about to lay off a bunch of people. And so the incoming incumbent of this role would be a kind of task number one, lay off a bunch of people. And so that's not a position I've been in. I have led people through the aftermath of a layoff, but have never kind of sat down with people and evaluated, you're going to go, you're going to stay. So I didn't have that personal experience. And so What I did was basically just kind of walk through in my mind, a framework of how I would approach it. So again, it's not the I did. I know you said, I would do a thing, but is the only thing I could draw on. Walt, I'm curious how you might approach that type of question for when you don't have that direct experience.
Anybody besides me have ideas?
No, I get the same thing right now. My company just laid off a lot of people because of the claim denials. I verify the insurance, but yet the insurance company at the end will deny to pay on the claim. And I think that's why they laid a lot of us off, because they needed to hire a team to go and clean up the claims and get the claims, get us paid on the claims. So I don't know. That's what I've been trying to get these positions that I applied to qualify me to help out on that, because it's what's bringing companies down right now is these insurance companies.
Okay, specific question on something that they ask you that you've never done. We can call it.
Yeah, that's my deal, is trying on my interview, trying to get them to see if they would hire and train me to help them out on this situation that all companies are having. I would like to get trained further, my position, and multitask and cross train and help out.
Okay. Well, when you get the question that you haven't had the experience in, is there something closely related to it? And so while I haven't had to lay people off, I can tell you how I have prevented layoffs if you're interested in that, or I can tell you how I would approach that and how I would manage that. Because if they're expecting you to handle, in leadership, I used to do leadership training, and everybody wanted to be in the leadership role, but they didn't want to fire anybody. And I said, well, if you want to be a leader, you're going to have to fire people. So decide, do you want to be a leader or not? I mean, this is the expectation. So in the firing side of things, so I would say, I can tell you how I would go about it, but I can tell you, because I do this in performance appraisals, I'd review people and talk about people. And so what I do is, and say I would get with HR, I'd find out all the policies, the processes, the things, make sure I'm doing legal, doing legal information, and whatever it is that you would go through to do that. But you can ask him, I said, I can tell you how I would handle it. Would you be interested in hearing that as permission to not answer the question directly, but as permission to answer a different question? And if they say, yes, then you've got permission to go ahead and through that.
Well, see, me, I'm different. I don't mind helping people, but I don't want to lead. I don't want to lead position. The last company paid 15 cents more for a lead, and that's a lot of pressure put on for just 15 cents an hour. So I don't mind helping, but I don't want a lead position. So.
One other question I had in a recent interview that kind of threw me a little bit of a loop, just be prepared for it, is somebody asked me, what's the last good book you read, and what did you learn from it? And I'm just one of those people that reads a lot of books at once, and so I kind of struggled with it a little bit. So I definitely have that hip pocket, like a response to that, especially if there's one that that's relevant to the job. In terms of like good questions that I've heard from people as a best practice to throw out during an interview that I find to be effective is, instead of just the standard, tell me about the company culture, this, that, and the other, like cut to it by saying, how are decisions made and resources assigned? Because that will tell you a lot about how they work and uncover a lot about their culture in kind of an indirect way. And I found a lot of good information to evaluate companies based on that. Because if, that's the crux of any position, like how do you make decisions and how do you assign resources in terms of, priorities? And then one other good question that I found is helpful is asking folks, especially hiring managers, what do you wish you would have known when you took this job? So it kind of blindsided you coming in, that may again unveil something that you would be good to know about the role, and also kind of force them to think a little, and probably, and when I've used it, I think it's impressed interviewers.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Let me share a few more slides and we'll get out of here today. Next week, our speaker is going to be Rusty Wright. Some of you've heard of him before. He was talking about ChatGPT for job search success. He's got just a ton of great information and prompts that you can use. So join us next and resources. So come join us next week for that. On the career, this video will get posted up on the Career USA YouTube channel. Click on playlist because every video I post goes into one of 7 different playlists. And then down the very bottom lower left, you see view full playlist. Click on that because that will come up with a list of the dates in chronological order and the title of the speaker and their topics. So there's a lot of really good information we've got on the speakers we've had here at the North Dallas Group that you can go back and watch at your convenience. Just know that you need to go in about 30 minutes to see the video, to see the speaker start, because we've recorded from the very beginning of the program. Next Tuesday, LinkedIn Tuesday, 1 o'clock Central, LinkedIn from a Recruiter's Eye with Kurt Vandemater. I talked to him the other day. He was talking about something that's sort of got it's bugging him right now. He's seeing it happen a lot with a lot of fake recruiters online and recruiters that want to charge you $10,000 to place you. That he just wants everybody to know that you're not going to get a job that way. Don't waste the money. So he'll be with us next Tuesday. Next Wednesday, the practice interview team is meeting in person right here. You can watch a mock interview. You will learn as much watching somebody else being interviewed as you're interviewed. So that'll be next Wednesday.
That'll be a Zoom?
Excuse me?
That'll be on Zoom?
No, that is in person only. First, third, and fifth Wednesday is in person. The fourth Wednesday of the month, the last week of the month, it's on Zoom. Upcoming, as I said, next week, ChatGPT for job search. On the 23rd, we're going to talk about Clifton strengths. And on the 30th, rewriting the narrative, the art of influence. So those are our next 3 speakers lined up. Today, come join us at Country Burger. How many people think they're going to go so we know how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe 6 or 8. Whoever.
It wasn't so far.
8 people. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.